Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to discuss future Total War historical titles, so without further ado, let's begin. It's been a while since we've seen a Total War historical title, the last being 2015's Total War Attila. Since then, fantasy has kinda taken over for the most part. First with the Total War Warhammer series, which was a massive success so far, Total War Three Kingdoms, which is technically a semi-historical title, and soon to be released a Total War Saga Troy, which is based on the Iliad. Now don't get me wrong, I love the whole fantasy approach of these games. In fact, it is very obvious that the majority of the content that I produce for this channel is based on the Warhammer series. However, I, probably like many others watching this video, grew up with the Total War historical series. And seeing that it's been over 5 years, yes it's been that long, since we've received a full historical title, I can't help but wonder what's in store for the future. For full disclosure, I'm not counting Thrones of Britannia in this list, as it was the first Total War Saga title, which felt more like a test for a new running series. So with that out of the way, there are a few things to discuss. Firstly, when would it be likely to see a new Total War historical title being released? It is important to note here that generally Creative Assembly release one game per year, and it's more than likely that Total War Warhammer 3 will be released in 2021. There is no official confirmation about this, but that's what most people, including myself, are speculating. So it's more than likely that a new Total War historical title would be released around 2022, possibly alongside the first-person shooter title they've been working on as a sort of midlife crisis. I'm only making an educated guess here, as any other game that has the Total War title on it never takes the spot of the whole one title a year thing they have going on. So 2022 would be our best bet, or at least I hope so. And now this leads to our next question: what would the setting be? The great thing about basing a series of games on a historical setting is that there are thousands of years of recorded human history, so it's not like Creative Assembly can run out of ideas. That being said, they have worked on a bunch of games that then had sequels. Obviously, Creative Assembly saw that these specific titles were popular, so making a sequel made sense. Many people are continuing to ask for further sequels. Just to list some examples, we have that of the Shogun series, which is based around the 15th to 17th century Japan. Diverting for just a moment to give you an interesting note, Shogun Total War is what actually kicked off the Total War series. Next was the Medieval series, which was based around the 10th century to 15th century, with the maps generally being focused around medieval Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. And lastly, there is the Rome Total War series. This was based before the start of Christianity and continued to move onwards in the timeline. For a quick note here, Rome Total War was the first ever Total War game I've ever played, being introduced into the series by my uncle. All of these were immensely popular, barring Rome 2 of course, due to a lot of issues, and let's just not get into that because it's just a can of worms. And all of those respective series will probably warrant a third sequel. Checking out online through various sources such as the forums, Reddit and so on, I've seen a lot of requests for a third medieval Total War game, and to be honest, that's something that I would prefer myself. The last medieval setting was released in 2007, 13 years ago. Yeah, I honestly can't believe it's been that long. Shogun and Rome last saw releases 8 and 7 years ago, respectively, so in my opinion it makes sense for them to go back to the medieval series as a triumphant return to the historical settings. They know the fans want it, which means it would be something that would be guaranteed to sell. Obviously, I know there's a few people who might be disagreeing with me at this point and are probably voicing their opinions in the comments below, but just hear me out for a simple moment. If a popular title gets re-envisioned and gets a sequel, then the historical fans might be a bit happier. At that point after, Creative Assembly might feel more inclined to try out other settings, with the possibility of completely new mechanics. Let's talk purely in a hypothetical sense. Say for example, Creative Assembly released Medieval 3 and made a killing out of it as could be expected. And now, before they move on to produce Rome 3, Shogun 3 and maybe even Napoleon 2, what if they took inspiration from all the experimentation they did in the Warhammer series and brought that into the historical? Everything that's been learnt in the Total War Warhammer series can easily translate in terms of inspiration to much more ambitious projects. Say for example Total War World War I or Total War World War II. How could Warhammer inspire such games? Well, it's rather simple. Warhammer has introduced many new forms of combat to the Total War team. One such example is the aerial flying combat for monsters. Yes, this wouldn't translate whatsoever to planes, helicopters, or anything else for that matter, but the idea is already there. If they're able to code complex looking monsters such as, for example, Terrorgeist, dragons, Valk and so on, then obviously they're able to do something with planes too. And I've literally just realized, mainly because I barely use them in game, that helicopters could take inspiration from the dwarf gyrocopters. The heavy use of single entity units, most commonly seen in Warhammer, Three Kingdoms and Troy, could also be used in a World War I or World War II setting for any tanks, war machines and so on that would most commonly be seen in groups of 1 or 2. Naturally, this would also mean that we'd see the return of naval combat, but in a new way never before experienced in the Total War series. Yes, I know a few people are probably typing no at the moment, but hasn't enough time passed for them to give it another crack and actually see if they can perfect it? The last form of naval combat that we've had for a Total War game was in Total War Attila. That was 5 years ago. A lot has changed for Creative Assembly over the years, so it could be that they could finally perfect the style. If they don't want to complicate things too much, there's so many other settings that could be looked at. Say for example the American Civil War, the combat of that era was quite pike and shot, which has already been explored in Shogun and the Napoleon games. A personal hope of mine would be to eventually see a Total War game based on Bronze Age Egypt, or a game based around the Anglo-Spanish War of the late 1500s to early 1600s. But once again, that would require naval combat to be implemented, and we still don't know what Creative Assembly have planned for naval combat. I mean, they have confirmed that they are aware that people do want naval combat in Warhammer 3, so an educated guess can say that if it does get implemented in Warhammer 3, that means that we'll probably see it return in future historical titles too. But now I leave you all with a question. What historical title would you like to see Creative Assembly release in its Total War series? Let me know in the comments below and we'll start a bit of a discussion. I am rather curious because the last time I did a video like this, which was for future fantasy settings, I honestly had a lot of interesting comments, even people saying that they'd like to see certain settings that I'd never even heard of before, and I've started to look into them now. So it's actually a bit of a learning moment for me too. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various different social media links such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Using our special link and also the special code, which is also in the description below, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to Ryan Bertsche and Gibraltar LUSC for subscribing to us at our Fame level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule and VSVasan for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you guys enough. The money earned from Patreon is going directly back into the channel, slowly upgrading little bits and bobs, just trying to get to a higher level of content for you guys. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. The support has been insane lately, and honestly, we can't be more than excited. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.